All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We are super excited. We're going to go ahead and get things kicked off this afternoon or this morning, depending on where you are. But we are going to be diving into our AI and CX benchmark report, and we're super excited to go through all of the learnings with y'all today. A little bit about the agenda today. We'll go through some welcomes and introductions. What exactly is the AI and CX benchmark report, some of the findings, and then we'll end with some Q&A. There is a Q&A section on your screens. If you want to drop your questions in there throughout the webinar, that is totally fine. We will kind of be answering all of those at the end. And then just to go through a little bit about who you guys will hear from today, we have Deon Nicholas on the call. He is the co-founder and CEO here at Forethought. We also have Laura Ragsdale, who's the CEO at Envoy. And we also have Larisa Thomas, who is the VP of Operations at Kickfin. So really exciting content, some really great speakers for y'all today. And with that being said, I will kick over things to Deon to get started.
All right. Is this thing on? Thank you everyone for joining. And Katie, thank you so much for kicking us off here. We're super excited. We're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be talking about how you can leverage it for reals and how it can have an impact on your metrics and your customers' metrics specifically. So before diving in, let's start with who we are here at Forethought. At Forethought, we are building the most advanced generative AI agent for customer support. And that is a mouthful, I admit. But what does that mean specifically? What makes a great generative AI agent for customer support? And what does that even mean, an AI agent? So the first is that Forethought is fundamentally built on your data. We're the only player in the space that fundamentally trains models that are fine-tuned to your customer data, real conversations based on your conversation history. Ultimately, your customers are unique and your AI should be too. Second is that at Forethought, we think about AI as a tool that can help accelerate both your agents and your end customer experience. And that comes from resolving issues, not just giving answers. Whereas most solutions focus on just giving kind of rote answers to things, our whole goal is to actually automate resolutions. That means AI that can take action, that can ask follow-up questions, that can hit APIs, and all of that without needing clunky decision trees, rules, or keywords. And then lastly, at Forethought, we think about AI applying to the entire lifecycle of customer service inquiry, starting with customer questions, automatically resolving them or solving them, all the way through to agent assist and insights for you support leaders as you are building out your teams. And so in that way, we are a complete solution for CX. Always happy to talk more, and I'll probably shill Forethought at some point throughout this webinar. But I love to think about what are the ways in which AI can truly have an impact for you. And we truly believe that that is by building an AI agent that is built on your data. All right. So thank you for joining and sitting through my little spiel. We're here to talk about the 2024 AI in CX benchmark report. When you think about it, Gen AI for customer support is going to be the single largest software category on the planet. I've said this before, and I fundamentally believe that. I think that in so many ways, agents, customers, support leaders can all benefit from the augmentation of AI, and in particular, generative AI. However, with all the excitement, with all of the promise of generative AI, there are still yet no objective reports, or there were still no objective reports out there on AI and how it can impact your business and how it can impact your customers that weren't tied to the help desks and things like that. And so we set out to answer the question, what does AI actually do for your organization? We asked hundreds of support leaders like yourselves who are building technologies, applying AI, and using AI for their business and their customers, and broke it down by industry, by company size, and so on. So we're super excited about this report. Thank you all for tuning in. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to get down to the brass tacks and how that all works. Now, let's start with our methodology. Actually, in order to do this, I'm going to hand it over to Larisa, Larisa, you were actually one of our respondents. So curious what you thought about the benchmark report, particularly the questions, what we were focused on, and what did you hope to get out of the benchmark report when you were looking at our methodology?
Well, when we were looking at the questions, I was one of the respondents. I'm fitting right in with your sort of core demographic of the folks that you were looking at. And what I wanted to get out of the report was two things. One, I wanted to learn what other people were doing or thinking about AI and customer service who are like me. What can I learn from my peers in the industry? But I also wanted to take it as an opportunity to provide feedback to you guys about the things that we were concerned with. Because if we can influence where you guys decide to go with the technology, hopefully we come up with a tool that even better fits our needs as consumers of the product. When we were responding to the survey, what you saw coming back is a variety of members of the audience. It was a pretty diverse group of people. And what kinds of benchmarking that they were going against in terms of their customer service experience, and then how they were using AI and adopting it within their segment and the impact that it was having on their metrics. So the majority of your respondents fell into that manager and director categories. But almost everybody involved in responding to the survey had input into the direction and the strategy and the tactics their company was taking with AI in their customer support. The number of headcounts also varied widely from very small to over 500 team members. Personally, my team, we have about 6 members of our team, and we are using AI to augment what we offer to our customer base. In terms of what kind of customer service integrations you guys saw in the survey, the 85% were in the group of Zendesk, Service Cloud, Freshdesk, Intercom, and SAP Service Cloud, with a few other companies in there also, with like Genesys and HubSpot. But it's also interesting the number of monthly tickets that you were seeing respondents report. And again, I fell right into that sweet spot, 1,000 to 5,000 monthly tickets. We are using AI to help process more of those tickets and get more information to our customers without needing to wait for a customer service agent necessarily to be available to them. So it's allowing us to handle fluctuations in volume very easily without having to fluctuate staffing. And I think you'll see that a lot of the respondents had very similar experience in terms of the volume of tickets that they were handling and reporting on how much tickets they were getting. And that sweet spot of 1,000 to 5,000 was more than any other respondent at any other level. When we want to talk about this, Laura, I think you work with a lot of customers who might be using AI to help themselves. What have you seen in the report findings, and how does that match up to what you're hearing from your own customers? I think you're on mute, Laura.
Here we are. Yeah, much like the organizations that participated in the study, the clients that we work with are across a variety of shapes and sizes and industries. And I was pleased to see that much of what we hear on a day-to-day is very similar to the results that we've seen in the report. And I think we're going to drill into those specifics for the audience now, right, Katie? Yeah. So we've been talking about AI for a couple of years now. And what is different now is that it's no longer just an idea or a vision. I think, Deon, when you started your organization, you had such great forethought and insight into the future. But at that point, AI wasn't ready for the masses. It was still something that we were learning about. And what we've seen in the last 6 to 9 months is that time is now. And AI is proving that it's not only a pivotal and needed change, but that change is happening at a record pace, faster than we could have imagined. Many of the analysts and reporters are talking about how the prediction is that if you're an early adopter, you are going to see the most success with AI. And I think we've seen that across many different types of technology over the years, and it's likely going to be a very real reality for most of us. We know that what I like most actually about AI, and when you look at it as a technology, is that it is not specific for a large firm, a small firm. It is relevant to companies of all sizes, and the data in this report shows exactly that. So whether you are a smaller team of 11 to 50 agents, where you might be resource constrained, or you're a larger company in the enterprise where you're very much managed by a budget and a P&L, these are the highest adopters because they understand the results that they're going to see from AI. Further, the data shows that not only is AI relevant to companies of all shapes and sizes, it's also very relevant to many industries. And we talked about this the other day when we were looking at the results. You can see here that many of the high users are those industries that understand the importance of high CSAT. They're industries that may sell to a demographic that is open to new technologies and expect a fast response. How fast you pivot as an organization is going to be up to you. But if you're trying to break into these newer markets, if you're trying to understand how to provide better service, a lot of that is going to come through the early adoption of AI in your CX space. Now, of the industries and the organizations that were surveyed, about half of them said that, look, we're using AI today. Of that second half, they plan to within the next year. Larisa, you had, when we talked earlier in the week, you had said that there were some learnings you had that you wished you knew prior to implementation.
Yeah.
Do you want to share those with the audience?
Yeah, when we implemented Forethought, it was actually, we were right in the middle of our implementation when they announced their Support GPT product, and we were one of their beta customers around Support GPT. So very, very early in kind of the life of AI for customer service on our end. And I went into it going, okay, I need a chatbot on my website. But this is so much more than just a chatbot on the website. And actually, over the last 2 years, we've expanded what kind of functionality we're using with Forethought in order to take more advantage of what AI has to offer. So I wish I had known more about AI. And I feel like some of the folks who are just now looking at implementing AI have more contextual knowledge than I did 2 years ago, just because AI has been so publicly out in the world. And if you followed any of the news, you have context for it, whereas it was much earlier for me in terms of that. So I wish I had taken a little bit more time to take a step back and kind of learn a little bit more and sit down with the implementation coordinator at Forethought to really learn the AI a little bit before trying to design our solution. But ultimately, the team at Forethought was great in walking us through that implementation. But ultimately, we've added on what we're using. And the thing that stood out with Forethought in particular is it's not just a chatbot on the website. Like there's hundreds of providers that can give you a little chatbot on your website. But Forethought also addresses the back end, and that was the real differentiator for me early in choosing who we were going to go with, because then it also helped my agents, not just my customers. And I think it's really important that as you're looking at implementing an AI solution for your business, you think about, where do I want to use the AI? Do I want to use it forward facing with my customers? Do I want to use it internal facing with my agents? Do I need it to help craft knowledge articles? Do I need it to help generate content, or do I just need it to learn the content that I'm creating? And so it's not just about putting slapping a chatbot on your website and going. You really need to think through what problems you're trying to use the AI to solve.
Yeah, I love that. And I think a constant theme of what you're saying there is, A, educate yourself so that you really understand how far this can go within your organization.
Yep.
And B, look at these various journeys. Where is the biggest gap? Where can AI help me most? And again, that constant theme there is just a significant plan.
Right.
AI is not hard to set up. It's very smart and requires minimal tech behind it when you're working with a built tool like Forethought. But the ongoing success is going to be, look, we have this plan, we have these journeys. Let's continue to iterate on that.
Yep.
So Deon, you're the visionary behind where we are today. What are you looking about going forward?
Yeah, well, thank you, by the way. And yeah, when you think about the various use cases and problems people want to solve with AI, maybe we can go back to the previous slide. I love that AI is now a strategic imperative, and it's not just a you know, like a slapstick or like a slap-on technology, right? I think when most people think about AI, especially in kind of the pop culture of AI, you think about ChatGPT, right? And so as you said, Larisa, a lot of people think about, if I can just have this chatbot, you know, that can answer some questions for me, maybe 10 or 20% of questions, I have AI. You know, I can go and write a press release, I can say I'm an AI first company and all of that. But leaders like yourselves know that AI can go a lot further, right? Mm-hmm. And so whether it's you know, the chatbot, or like we like to call an AI agent that can go and resolve issues, or AI that can go and assist human agents, generate knowledge articles so that you can start to think about self-serve in the future, and then ultimately generating insights on, hey, what are the most common issues I'm getting in my support team? What things can be automated with AI? What things should I be upgrading my content for? What things should I be training my agents better on? Right. And so there's actually all of these different use cases. You can count probably somewhere between half a dozen to a dozen of like real critical impacting use cases. And this also varies by business type, right? So whether you're B2B versus B2C, you're going to see a heavier need for maybe more complex AI versus others. Industries, e-commerce, retail versus SaaS and software in many ways. And so I think one takeaway for the audience as you're reading this report is that, you know, AI can go a lot further than what the, you know, GPTs of the world will have you think. Mm-hmm. And my last thought on this is actually that it's actually going to keep getting better, right? I think, you know, we've been in the AI space for a few years, and we've seen the evolution of AI, starting with the transformer models, the T and GPT in 2018, GPT in 2019, GPT-3 now, and GPT-4. And I think there are going to be continuing technologies and breakthroughs over the next few years. And I think AI is really in the early innings. So I think there's a lot more problems to be solved than we can even imagine today.
Yeah, I read an article, I think it was last month or the month before in HBR, and they compared where AI is at today to when electricity first came into our homes. You may have read it, but for those of you that didn't read it, it basically said, look, getting electricity to the home was, yeah, sure, is great, but our lives as humans really started to change once the toaster was invented, the dishwasher, the iron, and all powered by electricity. And it was eye-opening to me because it made me realize exactly what you're saying, Deon, and that like we're just at the tip of this iceberg. And Larisa, coming back to what you're saying too, is the sooner we start to actually understand how the foundation works, the faster we're going to be able to implement all of these new ways of these new AI tools into our organization when they come out.
Yeah, and I think when I first approached the implementation with Forethought, I came from a very traditional sort of business sense of what's my process? What's the process going to be? What does the process flow look like? AI doesn't quite fit into swim lanes like that, right? You got to think a little bit more outside of the box. And now having a couple years under our belt with it, we are looking at those expanded opportunities for solving other use cases. So we have, you know, our agents are using the Forethought Assist to help generate emails, craft a first draft. It's
Shoot. Maybe we'll wait for her to come back. But I think, Deon, to your point, AI is still a tool, and the tools will continue to develop and get better. but ultimately it's a tool in our tool belt to provide better service to our customers in a variety of ways.
Totally.
The problems that it solves is just going to continue to get better.
Actually, I totally agree, and I'm kind of mind blown by the way with that AI is like electricity comment you made, Laura. I think the first time I heard that was one of a support leader. I think it was Jeremy Victor at Noom, who I was having a conversation with, and he said that it was like, you know, AI is the next electricity. And we're just beginning to get to the toaster and the iron and all of these things. So I think that's super cool. And I'm still a little mind blown by that idea. But Larisa, welcome back.
Sorry about that.
The internet message?
Yeah, I was just trying to say that we're able to segment the information in a way so that AI knows what we want to be publicly available versus what we want privately available to our behind the scenes team. As a software company, we do have some proprietary information, and it was really important that the AI be able to access that to help our agents, but not necessarily make some of that available readily via the website and the chat there. We're also have expanded some of our use in the last year. We're looking to pull it into our emails, not just our chats, and starting to get information about our email cases that are coming in. We're looking at the sentiment rating on those emails. We can actually use that to segregate our customer base in order to figure out who's happy with us, who's not happy with us. Kind of looking at a different way of looking at like kind of net promoter score, using their actual support cases to help figure that out. And then we're also looking at that knowledge-based article creation this year. So it's super time consuming to write a knowledge article, right? You have to research it. You have to write it out. You want somebody else to look it over. You might need to do screenshots. In the case of the Forethought, the Discover product, it looks at what questions are being asked, and it says, hey, you're getting a lot of questions that are asking this, but we're not finding anything in your knowledge base that addresses that question. We suggest that you write this article. And hey, even if you want to write this article, we can write a first draft for you. And so from there, it can save a ton of time that we spend creating those knowledge articles and filling those gaps. It takes away some of the harder effort that it would otherwise take for us to do that on our own without the help of that AI tool.
That's so cool. I think just hearing a lot of the use cases you're already leveraging AI for, Larisa, is just it's amazing, right? Like, you know, AI was once this thing you think about in a box, and now it's become this like strategic tool that you're leveraging across your entire organization, from article creation to resolution, deflection. I'm super excited to see that. And shifting gears, actually, maybe for curveball. So we've talked a little bit about all the potential of AI. And I think one of the things that I'm sure the audience is thinking about right now is, you know, what are the concerns, right? Because not everyone has adopted AI to the level that you have, for example, Larisa. And so maybe there's a question of why not? What are the concerns? What are people worried about? What's founded? What's not? I don't know. Laura, you've probably helped many companies integrate AI. So curious what your thoughts are as you see them, and like where do they stumble, or do they start to get a little bit concerned?
Yeah, well, I love the data represented here and at the various roles and where their biggest concerns are. Ultimately, there is a common theme, though, and that is that AI is new for everyone. And whenever we bring a new tool in that we've never had before, it's going to be met with resistance. Now, you can bucket any one of these categories and say it's a form of resistance. I love, Larisa, how you answered the question earlier, and you talked about it's all about learning.
Mm-hmm.
When we understand something as humans, it's easier for us to say yes to it. And so when we look at things like change management, it's imperative that bringing something new in follows a great change management process. The basis of change management is understanding. It doesn't have to be, some sort of large rollout, but if there's an explanation, a why, if you are involving many members of the team and helping them understand that this is not a tool to replace you. This is a tool to help you do the parts of your job that you hate doing. All of us have that in our day to day. And so, as long as there's an understanding and an explanation, I think there will be less resistance all the way around. And AI is certainly not an answer to everything. It is a piece of our day to day that we will use. If we effectively understand, or if we understand that, we can more effectively use it.
I love to see that. Very, very cool. So in being able to implement AI, it's almost an education problem. It's almost like a we fear what we don't know type of problem in that.
I also think that, Deon, like, when we do things that we're afraid of, the more that we do them and the more that we embrace them, the easier it gets. And the organizations that push their team out of their comfort zone are the organizations that are then going to develop a culture of taking risk, taking chance, realizing that if it fails, it's okay, but we tried something. There's a lot there that I think is just a bigger lesson to a company culture, career development, etc.
Totally agree.
When we were implementing Forethought, we had originally just one question. How do I better serve my customers? Because we are a software company that is targeting the restaurant and hospitality service industry. And our customers don't work a traditional 9 to 5, Monday through Friday office job where they're sitting at a computer all day. They are on their feet. They might be using our product at 3 o'clock in the morning because they use our platform to pay out tips to their employees. And so it's at the end of the night, they're closing out their tickets. They just want to go home. And so, short of saying like, I need to have a team of 12 so I can cover 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, we turned to Forethought to say, okay, can we provide customer service in these non-traditional hours for our customer base? So that was the original premise we were trying to solve. We're a fast growing company. We bring on a ton of new customers every month, but our ticket volume has stayed relatively steady, in part because that growth is being absorbed through Forethought and the AI handling some of those tickets that normally would be coming into my individual live agents, because they don't ever get to a live agent because they get resolved through the Forethought process. And so we have had over 2,000 chat ticket deflections. Our accuracy rate in determining the sentiment is above 96%. And our self-serve rate with our customers is trending at plus 72%. And actually, it just keeps kind of going up every month. It's really helping us scale our company without having to scale our team in ways that would be not very cost effective for us right now. We're a small, scrappy startup, right? We have very limited kind of funds with which to work in some ways. And so Forethought's really allowed us to meet those expansion needs, meet the needs of our customers, and kind of hit these sort of non-traditional use cases than what others may be experiencing in their industries. And so Forethought really became a key partner in us being able to meet those goals and achieve those metrics.
Larisa, I'm curious, have your customers commented at all once it no?
No, we named our Forethought AI chatbot. His name is Finn, and so we have him communicate in a way that tries to sound as natural as possible. Now they know they're working with a chatbot because of the way the intents unfold within the conversation and everything else like that. But we tried to give our Forethought chatbot a little bit of a personality, so they felt like they were talking to our company versus talking to AI. I do think that's one of the risks when people talk about the concerns with AI. They're like, I don't want to talk to an AI chatbot. I want to talk to a person. And even with my own team internally, they're like, I don't know if I want to use AI. I just want to write my own emails. And it's like, you can still write your own emails and put your own personality. It's just going to give you a draft. Like talking through those concerns with people and about how it's meant to augment the service we already provide, rather than replacing the service that we provide, goes a long way in kind of addressing some of those concerns both customers and your internal agents may have with using something like Forethought.
Love it.
Awesome. Love to see metrics at the end of the day. I come from an engineering and AI background, of course, and so there's like always I forget if it's your left brain or right brain, to be honest, but like I'll say left brain in me that's like, okay, there's this cool idea, yeah, but like where are the results, and so seeing that impact, that 72% resolution rate, Larisa, and seeing that trend upward is so exciting, and that truly means your customers are able to self-serve. Some other examples we've seen in terms of AI success across industries and where this is possible. So for the audience, it is truly possible to leverage AI and get these gains. There's a few companies on this slide here. I'll just talk through Upwork as one example. I remember we were doing a little bit of a case study with them recently, and they talked about leveraging our autoflows technology. So that's the natural language workflows where you can kind of just describe what you want the AI to do. And it was cool because Brent, the VP there, was describing using it in ways I didn't even realize we could do. So like using the autoflow, going and looking up information and then responding to customer in that way. I found that super cool. So I'm always excited to see when businesses are leveraging AI in creative ways that like we didn't even imagine when we built it, and that's coming out in some of the results that you saw, Larisa, and the companies like Upwork and here are seeing as well. So it's super exciting. Awesome. Okay, so jumping back into the report, so we talked a little bit about results. We've talked about cases where it can go really, really well. And I also want to talk a little bit about like what does doing it incorrectly look like, right? And so I like to say not all AI is created equal, and there are costs for doing it wrong. So there are three big takeaways from this next section that I think the audience should think about. And again, when we did this, we wanted to make sure that we were help desk agnostic, because there are a lot of the kind of more traditional customer service help desks that are kind of producing results specifically for their help desk. But when you zoom out, can you see what's going on across the industry? So the first is that buying an AI first solution turns out to be more effective in the data than help desk add-ons, which was interesting. The second is that, maybe this is probably goes without saying, but leveraging your own data turns out to be more effective than other model training, which is publicly available data or not trained at all. And then the third is that the question of should you build it in-house versus not. And we also looked at some of the stats on effectiveness compared there. And we actually found that, surprisingly, I was a little surprised by this, but yeah, building in-house ends up being less effective than leveraging third party. And so let's talk a little bit about what some of these key takeaways are and why. So the first thing that we found is that businesses who trained on their own company data were 3.5 times more likely to see a lowered cost per resolution than other companies. And this is even while seeing that the same group was actually 5% higher on CSAT. And I think the reason for that is twofold, is that one, again, there are these large language models that are trained on general internet data, but they don't understand your business, right? They don't know that, refund policy for you might be completely different than a refund policy, for another business. They don't know how you train your agents and teach your agents. And so in theory, if you could train on your specific data, and by specific data, I mean historical conversation data, not just your help center articles, and that is also a valid way of training as well, and I think should be done, but we're specifically talking about historic data. We see that if you see these purple bars on the left here, they are way more likely to report that they're seeing their cost per resolution go down or way down.
Yep.
And then jumping in, so given all of that, what are some key questions? What's the best path forward? And I'll kind of summarize these in very pithy questions and answers. So should we build AI in-house? I'm sure we all saw, there was the big Klarna announcement, things like that. right? Where there are some examples of folks building in-house. And so we surveyed the audience and found a few things about building in-house that, when you peeled back the layer cake of what's going on, make it a little bit challenging. So the first is that your customers have high expectations. And so what that means is, even though it's actually fairly easy to build a RAG-based solution, so GPT with what we call retrieval augmented generation, or something based on your knowledge article that can probably answer about 10 or 20% of issues, if you want to keep going further, that requires you to continually invest resources and continually train. So I think a lot of companies who are building in-house are seeing that they get this nice initial bang for their buck, and then it kind of teeters off because they realize, well, now I have to actually go and invest even more to make it go from 10% to 20 to 30, and how do we get to the 70% like Larisa was seeing. The other is that the other two issues are timeline and costs, right? It's actually costing many businesses more in AI engineer salaries than it would cost to leverage even an out-of-the-box solution, or even a best-in-class solution like a Forethought. And so the trade-off between, should I go and hire a bunch of ML engineers and point them on this, is not necessarily there. So these are some of the things we saw, and it's counterintuitive, or at least these questions are not obvious one way or another. But then until you really look at the data. So should we build in-house? We recommend not. The second question is, should we leverage the help desk add-on? So we're seeing a lot of companies who are not necessarily AI native. They're often the CRMs, they're often ticketing solutions or things like that, trying to attach bolt-on AI. And I think the short answer there, and the reason we're seeing in the data, the delta, is that, again, not all AI is created equal. I think there are three kinds of AI agents out there, or AI chatbots. The first are your traditional decision tree rules-based bot builders, and many of the help desk add-ons offer that, or have offered that for decades. The second is, again, that retrieval augmented AI, or the retrieval augmented generation, or RAGs, using GPT to apply to your knowledge base. And we are seeing the same problem here from the help desk as we see in the in-house builds, is that it's actually very easy for a lot of these help desks to go and launch a RAG-based solution, which gets you your 10 or 20% in terms of resolution rates, which, again, if that's all you need, then maybe, but most businesses want to see that 50, 60, 70%. And so it's like almost tempting when you hear AI to think you've got it all, but you really just have a retrieval AI, if that, or you may just have a decision tree chatbot. So oftentimes those are the two things that are offered. And so that third category, AI agents, which we've talked about, natural language training, automation, being able to go and take action, you're going to need often a best-in-class solution for that, and that's where you start to get the gains. So should I leverage? Yeah, go ahead.
Deon, just to say, from our experience with Kickfin, the last two things that you were talking about, in-house and then help desk add-on, those were non-starters for us, honestly, when we were looking for our solution. In-house, we're a software company too. We wanted our in-house product engineers working on our product, not working on an AI solution for operations, right? So we knew we needed to go to where the expertise were. That's not our area of expertise. We wanted our people focused on what we needed to be focused on to build our company. And for us, with the help desk add-on, it's not just the help desk add-on. It's the chat add-on. It's the email add-on. It's the this add-on. There's so many little AI add-ons, and it's like, do you want to try and leverage all these individual add-ons, or do you want just an umbrella product that's going to sit across multiple systems and be able to pull information and pull in function and work in a variety of ways, sitting on top of all of those systems? And that's where Forethought won out for us. Is it could sit on Service Cloud, it could sit on Confluence, it could sit on the website, it could sit internally with our agents, and we weren't going to have a bunch of competing AI products that we were going to have to configure and maintain. We were going to have one AI product that we could configure and maintain and utilize across all of those platforms.
Totally agree. I love to see that. And I think we are on our last key lightning round question, which is, should we use generic AI built only on public data? And I think this was the other thing that's kind of insidious, like in the sense that most people don't realize this. But when you look at where your AI has been trained, most people, again, think of the GPTs, which were trained on public data, internet data. And then they may go as far as the RAGs, which is take that and apply to your public knowledge base. And very few then go to, let's train on our deep data, on our Confluence, on our historical ticket data, and things like that. And the results are pretty clear, right? Deflection rate is higher, 37% compared to the 24%. We're seeing CSAT is higher, and we're seeing cost per ticket is lower when you actually train it on your data. So love to see that that when you go deep and have a dedicated AI built on your data, you are going to get results. So that's it. I think we had one question coming in from the Q&A, Katie. Is that right?
Yes, we did. It looks like we just have time for one question. So any other questions, I will email you and we will give you an answer. But the question that came through first was, is there any strategy to shift customer support preferences from traditional ticketing to chatbot interaction?
Yeah, for me personally, that's actually a very concerted effort on our part. Like I said, we serve the restaurant and service industry, and if you guys are familiar with that industry, you know it tends to skew young, right? And a lot of younger folks right now are more interested in things like chat and text messaging for communication rather than email or phone. And right now, our two biggest channels are email and phone, but we are making a concerted effort to promote chat and text messaging both as alternative solutions for getting help through our product. So that is actually a significant initiative for us this year.
Awesome.
Amazing. All right. And so just wrapping it up, thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully we'll have access to, you'll have access to the slides, and you'll be able to get this video on demand. If you want to explore AI as a solution for your CX org, if you feel like these impacts are great for you, ask us for a demo over at Forethought. And if you want to improve your ROI as a customer, reach out to your CSM if you're already a Forethought customer. And lastly, if you want to just learn more about these metrics, what your peers are doing with AI, how it is being used across the industry, then go and access our 2024 AI and CX benchmark report. Thank you, everyone. Laura, Larisa, Katie, thank you so much. This was such a fun session, and looking forward to doing it again.
All right. Have a great day, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
Cheers.